Hey guys, Mr. James here from the Kenai Community Library, and we are about to do another Let's Draw. Now, today's subject I'm super excited about. We've drawn birds in the past. I know we've done a sandhill crane, a raven. Well, today we are going to be tackling the majestic bald eagle. Now, not only is this bird a national symbol, but it's also a super fun subject to draw. Even kind of the texture and the beak and the eyes. Very exciting drawing subject matter. So grab your pencils, erasers, markers, and paper, and let's get ready to draw. All right, let's go ahead and get started on our bald eagle drawing here. And I'm going to have my paper in a horizontal format because we are going to concentrate mainly on the bald eagle's head. And we'll have the bald eagle looking to the right. So one thing I like to do, just for you viewers at home, is just to divide your paper just with a thin line, and that kind of helps us get our proportions correct and know where we're going. So I just did a quick little thin line right here, and you could even do it in quadrants here if that makes it a little easier for you. So we're going to go ahead and start with the eyeball. I think having where the eye in place, the bald eagle has a very large eye. We're going to start to shape the head and have really our center go-to spot, if you will be our eyeball. So I'm going to go ahead and start going just down our line right here, and I'm going to say if this is my halfway middle point, I'm going to go up from that. So if this is kind of my middle quadrant right about here, I'm going to go just up north of that a little ways and then just come over to do that eye. I think a good way to get this eye in place is it's kind of a mean looking brow, and bald eagles are really, I would say, pretty distinct feature of a bald eagle would be their very serious looking eye. And so what we want to do that is I'm going to just bring a little kind of a curved line over like this, and you can see where I did that. Probably a little ways off my center line, so I'm in that upper right hand quadrant, kind of right in there. And then I'm going to bring another curved line over like this. I'm going to go a little further right there. Now I have that to where it comes over, and then it starts to make a curve this way. And now I'm going to bring that kind of mean looking brow right in to that eye and come over like this. So here is that mean looking brow, because again our bald eagle is looking to the right, and then I'll bring the rest of the eye down like so. So it looks somewhat like an oval turned a little bit clockwise, and then it's got this kind of brow line to it. So if that helps you guys there at home. Next, what I'd like to do is draw a little circle within this one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it's going to go right at the bottom edge here, and it's going to come up like this. Curves over like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. In a sense, we're kind of making a bald eagle looking somewhat like an iris here, but it's a little different in that for us, our iris is the colored part of our eye, and the eye around our iris is usually white. Studying the bald eagle, it looks like it's really dark in here, so it's kind of almost a reverse type of image for an eyeball compared to humans. Also, the pupil is stark. It is dark, but it's also pretty large. So we're going to go ahead and draw that pupil in there. It's going to be something like this. Just like a human pupil is a dark circle inside the iris. It's the same kind of concept. But I'm going to make a couple other marks, and you guys at my Let's Draw know why I add these marks, because this is going to be the highlight in the eye. So I added a small little mark right here. Maybe I'll add another little circle right there. There's going to be some highlights right in there, and we'll define that here in just a little bit. I think another step we could do is just add a little outline to this. We're going to do another little outline. Coming over this way. And come up. Just like that. And I'm pretty happy right now with the way that bald eagle eye looks. And we're doing something a little different here for our Let's Draw, because we are concentrating on one little facial feature part, and we're working our way out. So it's kind of coming from the inside out. Sometimes we do portraiture from the outside in. We're working it reverse today. And it's a pretty fun way to work. But I want to measure things. So I'm going to put another little mark maybe right here. I want to measure a couple little pieces because I want to add some details. So I'll just put a little mark going this way, and maybe a little mark going this way. And we'll go back and add a lot more of those details here at the end. But for now, we'll just kind of go with this. Next, let's go ahead and start to add, I'm doing a soft edge of a couple of little lines right here, just so I know where my bald eagle kind of shadows are going to be. And it's kind of like this. Gives me a nice little shape here. Now I want to just add a few little lines right here. Maybe one more. Right there. Because our eagle's looking pretty mean with that brow. Now I can start to develop the exterior part of our eagle and see what takes shape here. So I'm going to switch to a little bit of a thicker marker. And remember, you guys at home that are drawing with markers, make sure you have something under your paper so that it doesn't bleed through. So just north of my eye, right about where that brow line is hitting the iris here, we're going to go straight up, and right here, not very high up, is going to be a little bit of a point, and I'm going to go ahead and make that mark come over. Pretty straight line is what I'm doing there. Nice straight little edge right here. And then I'm going to have that straight edge just start to curve down just a little bit. Like this. So it curves down. Now we'll be able to add our beak. And that beak is going to pop up again just a little bit and then start to curve over. A little curve right here. And you can measure, that's going to go, if you go straight across, you're kind of hitting right inside the middle of that eye, since we're constantly measuring things horizontally and vertically. And then I'm going to go and do a nice beak shape. Because bald eagles have that perfectly nice curved down beak. I love how a bald eagle's beak is so pointy. Definitely a bird of prey and a scavenger. And so I'm going to go ahead and kind of bring this beak just so we know what's going on with that top beak. So I have that beak in place here with our very large eagle eye that we're going to add some details to here in just a second. Next, let's go ahead and kind of bring that mouth over since we've already started. And I'm going to bring it over probably all the way just below the eye. And I'm just going to bring it going this way. Now you can see I'm still above my halfway point on my paper, so it's pretty close to that eye, almost the same distance here as it is to here, just so you're aware. And then I'll start to bring it down. Almost looks like our bald eagle has kind of a somewhat of a menacing kind of smile going on. Yeah, it starts to come down like this and connects. This. So there's that is our separation in our mouth right here, and this defines where the lower beak is going to go. And we're going to start that lower beak probably right about here, right in here, because it's going to kind of overlap a little bit, and we'll bring that lower beak over like this. And I don't want it to come all the way even, so I'm going to stop it right about there and then start to curve it down. Maybe a little bit longer right there, and then start to curve it down. I'm going to bring this down to here, and then start to curve it a little bit more, like this. And we're going to start to develop the details around this section here in just a second, but let's go ahead and finish our outer edge of this eagle. So now I came up like this, and we all know that when we draw our brow line to where it's kind of got that angle, it makes our figure look a little bit more angry looking, a little more serious looking. And so what we want to do next is we're going to just take this and go, I'm going to put it at a slightly different angle. You can see that it kind of comes over, then over just a little bit. It almost looks like a curve. I think this is one of the most important little marks here, though. I'm going to add a couple little tufts right here, like that. And then I'm going to start to bring this side down. And I'll start to curve this over. And we'll add a little bit more details on this here in just a second. So let's get back to this beak and define this. And we're going to add a little bit of shading today first also. So what we want to do is let's add a little nostril. And the nostril, I'd say, is about even with the lower half of this eye coming over. So we're going to do that. And it's just a little mark like so. Then we want to really define the outer edge of this beak. I'm going to switch to a thinner marker. There's a little bit of details in here. And we're going to just go right around where we have the edge of where our mouth ends. And we're going to go around this edge like this. Maybe I'll come down a little bit right here. So I went right around it, and then I'm going to come over. I'm going to bring this line down like this, and then I'll bring another line up. And I'll probably bring it up right about here, like this. And I'll start to add some soft edge work. And to do that, I'm just putting some lines like this. I'm just adding a couple little dotted lines just to imply that the feathers start and the beak starts right in here. Where the beak ends and the feathers begin, right there with a soft edge. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring another mark down. And I'm going to bring this mark and just follow this whole edge all the way over to about right there. So I brought it all the way over to about right there. But that's not quite what's happening. That's the shadow line. So I'm going to add a little bit more of a beak. I'm going to draw another line over. Just start to bring this down. And then I'm going to start to add a little bit of that feathers underneath here where it starts to connect a little bit with that beak. And since our eagle is kind of turned a little bit, we're almost looking up at it. So we have a cast shadow. If the light source is coming from here, it's going to be all underneath this side of the eagle head. So this will all be pretty dark in the end. We can add a few little marks here. I'll put a little mark going right here. And there'll be nice little highlights. We'll shade that here in a little bit. There are a couple of nice little marks we can start to add that I think will be effective. And I'll switch to the big marker to do that. And I'm thinking we want to go ahead and make this a little bit darker. Under there. I'm thinking this can come up like this. And I think we can add a little bit of texture right there. It does kind of give it that little bit more texture right here. And right in here, I see a pretty significant little area of shadow. So I'm going to add some marks like this. And I'm just adding some texture lines. Like so. It's going to kind of curve this way, start to come up a little bit. I'm looking at a reference photo as I'm drawing this, and it helps me kind of see. So what I'm doing is establishing what's called a cartoon. I am establishing where my lights meet my darks. So you will see that this will be dark here in a little bit. So I'm kind of sketching that in right now. I'm Find some of these shadow areas, a couple little marks like this, and all of that really helps. We haven't really done much shading yet, but that's okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and kind of add where the feathers go. They're going to come down like this and start to come up. I'm just going to do just some quick little roughly looking feathers here. Maybe this one comes this way. Over here. So I'm adding all those bald eagle feathers. Now you can tell that this is a mature bald eagle because he has the white feathers meeting the brown feathers here. If it was more of a juvenile, it would not have the white feathers there. Okay, so I have my feathers. Now we'll go ahead and quickly, I'm just going to throw in maybe a few marks here to establish maybe what's going on with the eagle's body here. I'll just bring that down. Maybe a little curve right in here. Bring that down because he's kind of got his wing back over here. And I'm going to put that eagle at the back of it. These are very large birds. So I'm just going to bring that over like this. So we can kind of see that the eagle head is attached to a body. It would have been a compositional mistake to not offer some lines to indicate the body because it would have been just a floating head. And I think that's a problem. And you know, as artists, we need to be aware of our compositions. And if we just had the floating head without these additional lines, then it forms something called ring around. It's a compositional mistake because it's just something right in the middle and there's a lot of negative space floating around it. It's better to ground the image some way, and we just did that with these few lines here. Okay, so next I want to go ahead and add a couple of some really nice shadows, but to do that I'm going to do something a little bit different for Let's Draw. I'm going to, instead of using a Sharpie marker, which is somewhat limiting, I'm going to switch over to a charcoal stick, and I'm going to try and do some shading here with a charcoal stick and see how you guys do at home, which can be done with a pencil. So you do not have to have charcoal to do this, but I did want to show that smearing sometimes can be a great way of adding tonal values. I'm using a condensed charcoal stick. I think even better than that for something like this would be a vine charcoal stick, which offers a little bit more of a soft edge, but that's okay. We're going to use condensed charcoal and see where we go. So I have all my lines here. Now I'm using a blending material such as this condensed charcoal stick to kind of finish my tonal part of my drawing, which means I'm adding shadows, I'm adding lighting. Our light source is coming from the top, so I'm going to go ahead and do my eye here, which means that section on the inner part of my eye is dark. And I'm going to fill in this other section right over here. Dark, just like that. Kind of like the way this draws on this paper here. It's a chubby little stick here, so it's not super fine. And I went ahead and added my pupil there. Now what I can do to shade is I want to add a little bit of charcoal just around the edge of this. Like this. And I'm going to start to smear a little bit. But first I'm going to add a little bit of charcoal over here. Bring that up. It's a little bit dark right in here. And then I'm going to start to smear a little bit with my finger. Just like this. Just smear a little bit more like this. And where you can still see the eagle eye. Might erase just a smidge there. Like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and start to add a little bit more darks around this eagle eye. And I think to add a couple little marks right here just for feathers, use this to smear that. I'm going to add a little bit more over here. Maybe a couple little marks right here. And I love how this smears so nice and easy. So we're going to trail this down like so. Kind of smearing it up like that. It's nice and dark in here. So as you guys following along at home, you can do this with your pencil. It's just not going to smear as easy as charcoal. Just be aware of that. And bring that tonal down like that. So I can see that it's starting to form a nice little shadow right in there. So I'm going to bring this over. And I think we're starting to look like a nice little bald eagle head here. So next, I want to add a little shadow to the mouth area. Using my charcoal stick. Bring that over. Smear a little bit right here for the shading on the beak. That nostril will be dark. Bring in a little bit of shading right here. Just like that. Okay, so now we have this little piece right here. I'm going to go ahead and shade this in a little bit. And we can see that it's starting to look a little bit more three-dimensional because we're using our charcoal to shade here. Next step I want to do is fill in a lot of shadow right in here. And that is the benefit to a nice heftier stick of charcoal, is that I can kind of quickly fill that in fairly fast, because that's all going to be pretty dark right in here. And I'm going to use that to smear over here and kind of start to fill this, and I'm going to kind of lightly hit this area. A little bit of charcoal goes a long way, and start to kind of smear this here. Again, I'm using my fingers, but there's so many other materials that you can use to smear. One is a tortillon, one is a stub. You can use Q-tips, a little piece of leather goes a long way. All kinds of fun things that you can use to smear. I'm just going to use my fingers here. It's kind of fun to get dirty here sometimes. So I'm going to bring those down. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and kind of just add a little bit of charcoal here. It's almost like once I started to use the charcoal, I'm instantly starting to draw a little bit faster, because it's just a faster medium. You almost want to work it a little bit faster, because I want to see it come to life a little bit quicker. Markers don't really offer that. So I do want to add a little bit more details right in here. So I can see it's starting to look like a bald eagle, and I'm going to go ahead and just add a few little details right here. And we are almost done with our drawing today. So I'm just doing some scribbles in here that will just imply some feathers like this. And I'm going to go ahead and smear these. But I'm smearing them in a way that maybe it will look like feathers. When we've done our drawing with markers, we're using the markers to offer, with a little bit of hatch marking, to offer a little bit of gradations. But of course, with charcoal, you don't need to do that. The gradation is there. You just need to smear it a little bit, and it offers a nice looking kind of gradation there. So I'm just kind of smearing a little bit here. That looks pretty good. I don't want him to look like he's shiny or smooth. I do want him to look textured, like there's feathers there with a lot of nice little texture. So sometimes you gotta just add a little bit of extra lines there. Maybe a little bit of lines right in here. And we're almost done. And I'd say the last step to our bald eagle drawing here is we do want to add somewhat of some darks right in here, because this is where the white of the bald eagle meets the dark brown feathers of the bald eagle. So I'm going to add that. And you can even, if you have charcoal, you can turn your stick sideways to offer some nice thick strokes. I don't have to do the whole thing because I can imply And I'm just going to maybe bring that darks all the way over to here. And we'll just kind of leave it at that. And since the sun is hitting the top, I'll smear this little section since this is the top of our eagle here. And here's a feather or a wings kind of curved over right here. So I'll just apply that right there too. So a little light smearing here, and I think we are done with our bald eagle. I'm going to leave this part right along the inner edge light, just because there's just a little bit of backlight going on right there, and I just wanted to kind of capture that, and I think that looks pretty good like that without going all the way right to the edge there. So there's our bald eagle. I hope you guys enjoyed drawing that. Now, the last step you want to do is go ahead and sign your piece, and we always kind of sign our pieces somewhat discreetly, just so we don't distract from our drawing. And so go ahead and sign your piece there, you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed drawing a bald eagle with me today. Again, remember, with charcoal, you're going to get a little bit dirty there, and even with pencil, if you're using pencil, going to get a little bit dirty. Feel free to use Q-tips if you didn't want to get that dirty, but a lot of fun to try something different here, so I appreciate you guys joining me for this Let's Draw, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Take care.